Alright, I am Chronic Mayhem, and today we are doing a comparison video between the HexGaming Phantom Pro PS5 Controller with Hall Effect joysticks and the AimControllers Pro PS5 Controller with Hall Effect joysticks. Let's get into it. In this video, we are going to be breaking down these two controllers. Now, a few things I want to get out right at the beginning and make clear is that the HexGaming controller right now is a off-the-shelf item, meaning you can go right to the HexGaming website or Amazon and order this exact controller as is right now. The AimController, in order to have the Hall Effect joysticks, you have to add them through the Aim custom builder on their website. And to add those sticks, it is a added cost. So to make this video fair and a straight shootout, we are going to judge the AimController as if you were building the equivalent of the Hex controller in their loadout and try to match them feature for feature. There are several features that are standard on the AimController which are not available on the HexGaming controller, and I will make those all known as well. Both these controllers start out life as a standard PS5 controller, so the motherboards, the latency, the wired performance, all of that will be the exact same between these two. As of right now, at the making of this video, you can purchase the HexGaming Pro PS5 Hall Effect controller for $249, and that's in American dollars. To build the equivalent AimController in the AimController custom builder on their website, you would need to add the rubber grips, the interchangeable thumbstick caps, and of course the Hall Effect joysticks. Once you have done that, the total price will be $264. I will put a table on the screen here showing everything you get for those asking prices. Now, even though the AimController is more, you get some things standard, such as the switchable panels that are exclusive to AimControllers right now. That is standard on all AimControllers. So this is an added feature you do not have to pay extra for. And what that allows you to do is if you have some other panels, such as this, you can just slap them on and now your controller is a completely different color. Note though, the white panels like I have here are free in the builder. If you want any other color though, that will be an added charge. Like I have the topo pattern here. I got the topo pattern separately on sale, and it was cheaper to get it separately than in the builder at the time, but I believe that sale has ended. So if you wanted to make a matte black controller to match the Hex one, I believe it would cost you an extra $25 in the builder. So going through the list of shared features once you have the equivalent two controllers here, starting with the HexGaming controller, for that $249 price, you are getting 4 back buttons, the adaptive triggers, meaning you can switch between a full trigger pull and a short trigger pull, more like a mouse click for first-person shooters, etc. The Hall Effect joysticks, of course, 8 swappable thumbstick caps, and the controller is also available a variety of colors. I will list those on the screen as well. With the AimController, for that $264 charge, you are getting the 4 back paddles, which are standard on all AimControllers. You're getting these snap panels, as I mentioned earlier, which is standard on all AimControllers. You're getting the adaptive triggers, once again, is standard. You're getting the added thumbstick caps, or the ability to switch out your thumbstick caps, the Hall Effect joysticks, a 3-foot braided USB-C cable, and the rubber grips on the back of the controller.
But wait, there's more!
Both these controllers also come with a limited lifetime warranty, and we will go through the differences of the lifetime warranties later in the video as well. Now, if you wanted to have your controller from Aim completely blacked out, like on the HexGaming controller here, you would have to add the additional colored touchpad buttons and snap panels. Once you do that, the total cost is now risen to $302. Please note though that AimControllers often has many promo deals going on. There's almost always a promo deal going on with Aim, and typically those codes can bring down the price as much as $100. Hey, this is Chronic Mayhem from the future. One thing I wanted to mention that came up while I was editing this video is AimControllers is currently having a sale where the Hall Effect sticks right now are free in the custom controller builder. Usually they are $45, but now until November 14th, 2025, they are free. So that will save you $45 right off the top. Another thing I wanted to clarify is when you're making the matte black one, the touchpad is not included in the builder like it is on the Topo one. So like if I go back to standard and you select the Topo's pad here, you can see that the touchpad is included. But if you go down to the matte black, it's not, and you have to add the matte black one here, and that is an additional $10. So again, to build the matte black controller in the builder, currently it is $257 until February 14th. When I bought this controller, I used another creator's promotion code, and that saved me $90 off the top immediately. All right, now that we have all of that out of the way, let's start comparing these controllers to each other.
2 hours later.
Let's start with the back buttons, or the back paddles in the case of the AimController. Looking on these controllers, you flip them over like so. The obvious difference you can see here is you have back buttons on the HexController and back paddles on the AimController. The back buttons on the HexController are mouse click. Here it's a very short push and there's an audible click when you push them. They are very light as well. I would like it if it was just a little bit heavier, as right now they are even lighter than I'd say than the mouse clicks on my Razer Death Adder V3 Hyperspeed here. But I've never really had accidental presses either. I know some people have complained about accidental presses on the HexGaming controller, but I think that just comes down to how you're holding it. Personally, when I'm holding these controllers, I'm using my middle finger to cover all 4 buttons. So my middle finger is really resting on these bottom ones and then just kind of jumps up to hit the other 2 whenever I need to reload or switch weapons, etc. The back buttons also are a little bit closer to the actual shell of the controller. So if your fingers just kind of hang down a little bit, it makes it for a very comfortable experience holding these controllers, and they're in very good locations as well. And I mentioned earlier, it's very easy for my middle finger to just kind of jump up and get those top buttons. Now, moving on to the AimController, here you have 4 back paddles. The back paddles are much louder than the mouse clicks on the HexController, so please note that as well. So that is the sound of the paddles on the back of the controller. Comfort-wise of holding this controller, again, I use my middle finger to cover all 4 paddles, and I just hit the top one like that when I am using it. So one thing I've noticed with this controller, with the way I hold it like that, this part of the paddle kind of digs into my finger a little bit, but that's just me because I think I hold these a little uniquely. Okay. I thought this would be a better way to demonstrate how I use these controllers. So starting with the HexGaming controller here, as I said, I use my middle finger to cover all 4 buttons on the back. My fingers rest on the bottom ones here, and I just click the top ones with this part of my finger like so. And it's very comfortable to do that. You can hold a controller just like how you would hold a normal controller if there was no buttons on the back. You can click the bottom ones easily and then just tap the top ones as you need to. You can hold it like this if you are someone that does use your ring and middle fingers. I feel I don't get a good grip on the controller when I do that, and I've never really trained myself to use my ring fingers also to activate the back buttons on these controllers. So moving on to the AimController now, I hold it the same way. Middle fingers resting on the bottom paddles here, and then I can just click the top ones very easily like that. Again, you could do this if you want, but I feel it's even more uncomfortable on the AimController, and holding it like this is by far the most comfortable way to use this controller, and you can still activate those top paddles very easily as well. Moving on to the adaptive triggers, which are standard on both controllers here. It's pretty much the exact same system on both. You have switches, as you can see here on the HexGaming and the AimController. Here I have this trigger in the full pull and this trigger in the mouse click. Here they are both in mouse click. Let me switch this one over right now. So this one is full pull, and Oh, now that one's full pull. And this one is mouse click. Both controllers advertise a 1mm pull. You can see here they are both very, very similar. Almost the exact same, I'd say. If I had to compare them, the HexGaming one does look a little bit longer. Yeah, so I think I'll put on the screen what they actually do advertise. I believe they advertise 1.5mm, and the Aim one advertises only 1mm. It does seem to be actually that the case. Hex one does seem to be significantly longer, but again, this is still a very short pull compared to other, controllers out there that say they have short pulls on the trigger. So as far as feel, they feel the exact same. They both feel like a mouse click. I would rate them as about the same. Of course, you saw that the Aim controller was just a little bit shorter, but I'm not sure how much difference that would make in actual gameplay, a difference that small. And for comparison between these two, I have a FlyDigi Vader 4 Pro here. You can see the pull right here on that for its short pulls to compare between these two. So they both have great trigger systems. To my knowledge, these are the only two companies that have a trigger system like that on a PS5 controller. All the others, you have to essentially solder or change the triggers to permanently be that short trigger pull, and you can't switch back and forth. So if you're looking for the ability to switch back and forth, these are the only two third-party controller manufacturers that currently offer that. The next feature we will discuss is the rubber grips again on the back. So this is a feature you would have to add in the Aim controller builder. As you can see here, the pattern on the HexGaming controller is a kind of I wouldn't say diamond, but it is a textured pattern here. It has a rougher feel than on the Aim controller. The Aim controller uses little Aim logos here, kind of like how the PS5 Edge controller has like little PlayStation symbols. This has rubber Aim logos on the back. This is more just a textured pattern. It is a little bit rougher feeling than on the Aim. It feels a little bit thicker too, if I had to judge, but I'm not saying it's like bulky or anything like that. It still feels great in the hands.
That's what she said. Excuse me?
This controller is very comfortable to hold. The Aim controller, again, very comfortable to hold, and this provides a lot of solid grip on the back. If I had to say, this almost has kind of more of like a sticky feel to it. Now, I'm not calling it sticky by any means, but if I had to draw a comparison, your hands, I think, definitely stick more to the rubber grips on the back of the Aim controller than they do on the HexGaming controller. This is more of like a friction grip, and this is kind of more of a, your hands stick to it kind of grip, if that makes any sense. Next, let's discuss the swappable thumb caps options that you have with both of these controllers. That is a option you will have to add in the Aim controller builder to get that, and it is standard on the HexGaming Phantom. They both have a similar method to their analog sticks. It's both friction based. The HexGaming one fits more over the cylinder of the thumbstick cover here, and the Aim controller one fits more inside. That's really the only difference. You can see the Aim controllers one is kind of a hexagon, shape here, and the HexGaming one is just round. They both just push back on like so. Once you line up the respective shapes, they click back on, and there you go. They're both, the friction is both very good. Like as you can see, I could pick up both controllers just by the analog sticks. Not that I would suggest that, but I would not worry about any of them falling off during gameplay. Now, unique features that each of these have that they do not share with the other one. Starting with the Aim controller, as I mentioned earlier, you do have the swappable panels that you can use to change the look of your controller on the fly. Like for example, once I get this panel off, now it's white, and actually I can take the touchpad off here, and I have a blank one here, a blank black one that I put a sticker on of my logo, and I can just slap that in there as well, and now it looks completely different. Aim controller does offer printing any logo you want right on the touchpad or on the sides here in the builder as well if you want for an added charge, but I had a bunch of my stickers laying around, so I opted to do it that way. Now, the feature that the HexGaming controller has is you get this separate calibration kit in the box, and I covered this calibration kit in my standalone video of the HexGaming controller. This is a really cool unit. I do wish it wasn't using ribbon cables, because ribbon cables tend to be very fragile and the contacts at the end can rub off if you end up using this excessively. The way it works is there's a little door here, you pop this off, then you plug the ribbon cable in there, you plug the other end in the calibration unit, and then you can calibrate your controller yourself and see it working in real time to make sure it's as accurate as possible. On the Aim controller, you have to use the standard PS5 calibration method, which I will leave a link to that in the description below. Previously, they had a video showing how to calibrate the controller, which I showed in my standalone review of the Aim controller, but seemingly that method doesn't work anymore. So I have seen emails and posts on Reddit of users saying they had to use a GUI off of GitHub to recalibrate their Aim controllers. And let me put back on my original snap panels here. You can see again how easy that is. They just come right off with these little magnets on here, then they slap back on. You just gotta make sure you line them up properly. And then there you go, they snap right on and you have a whole new looking controller. I do wish HexGaming would offer some skins or something that you could buy to customize this. I think this is a problem only on the black ones. Of course, it's not showing up right now, but I mentioned in my other video, the matte coating here shows fingerprints really easily. So that is something you want to be aware of. I did find a skin to put on the touchpad from Talon Gaming, because I'm not the biggest fan of having all these logos here on the top. This is the touchpad cover I have purchased for the HexGaming controller here, and I'll post a picture of it on it once I install it on all my socials. And with that, I think we are ready to move over to Gamepad Tester to test the differences between these two Hall Effect sticks. One thing I want to mention before we move over to Gamepad Tester is the way these Hall Effect sticks are implemented are different in both of these controllers. So in the HexGaming Phantom, the Hall Effect sticks seem to be implemented to be programmed to represent a circle, while in the Aim controller, the sticks seem to be programmed to represent a more rectangular or square shape. So that is going to affect the results in Gamepad Tester, as the circularity test is looking for what makes the best circle. So I just want to make that aware before we move over. And with that, let's move to Gamepad Tester. First, we will be testing the HexGaming Phantom. I have just plugged that in now. And here we go. As you see, my resting zones are about perfect. You want to look for 0.00392 or 0.01176. Those are what's described as like the perfect resting values for joysticks. So I really don't have much to adjust here. I don't need to recalibrate. As you see, there's a little fluttering or a little jitter, but that's not anything you would ever notice in game. So clicking on the circularity test now, we will test that. And I will move this around like this, and we're getting about 8.2 on the left stick. And I will move this around like this, like so, and we're getting about 9 on the right stick. I want to test my right stick one more time, because when I was doing this off camera, I was getting a better value. So this time I'm going to go this way, start a little bit more down there. And we're getting about 9.1. And just for funsies, let's do that one again, 7.4. So any value below 10% is considered acceptable and good. Of course, you see some of those sticks where you see 0, 0. I tend to question a little bit if there's some trickery going on, or it's eliminating inputs. As you see here, there's some inputs outside the circle. I think this is perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. Those ones that make it perfectly 0, I'm a little questionable about, but these are great values. So now we will move on to the Aim controller. All right, now we have the Hall Effect controller from Aim plugged in now. You see the zeros are also about perfect, really great. You're getting a little bit of 1169, but again, that's not gonna be anything noticeable in game. Like if I just barely touch it a little bit, it will get back to 003.9. If you really don't want that, like I said, you can calibrate it if you're gonna be really anal about it, but this is obviously not anything that's gonna show up in game. So now we will go back and test the circularity. Now remember when I said that these are programmed to represent more of a square or rectangular shape versus a circle, so the values are going to be higher. So let's test that now. And we're getting 17.9 on the left. And 17.2 on the right. So it kind of looks like an umbrella logo there. But what you really want to see here is consistency, because consistency is actually going to matter more. So 8.5, and by consistency, I mean like within a 3-point difference. So as long as you're getting like very similar values each time, then it's good. There, so we got, again, about 18 on the left, or almost 19, and then 17.6 on the right. When I am testing the more square-shaped or rectangular values, as long as they're consistent, and I'm getting values, lower than, let's say, 20%, they're typically fine, and still very accurate in-game. So I would not freak out about these higher numbers, because again, this test is looking for a circle, and these sticks are programmed to be seemingly a more rectangular or square shape, which I suppose you could argue you're getting more range of inputs, but I don't really know enough about that to confirm. One other thing I wanted to make known is I have not recalibrated either of these controllers. They are still in there straight from the factory settings as the Hall Effect sticks are concerned. Another important topic, which I'm not sure everyone really considers, is the warranties that will come with these controllers. So both of these controllers offer a limited lifetime warranty. So now let's take a look what you'll expect between these two. All right, so let's take a look at the terms of the warranty that comes with AIM controllers first. The page on the AIM controller is very lawyer speakish, but let's scroll down to the part that is kind of relevant to us right now. So the following items of goods are covered by the lifetime warranty: the controller paint, the controller buttons, the smart triggers, the smart bumpers, that's if you add smart bumpers in the custom builder, the AIM paddles, meaning the 4 plastic paddles on the back of the controller, the AIM base. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I don't know if that means the rubber backing or the pro backing on the back. And the controller motherboard and stick drift for the controller are only covered 45 days from the delivery date. And the active triggers are also covered in the limited lifetime warranty. There's some other disclaimers here, as well as excessive pressure on the trigger, typically digital tap mode, resulting in breaking of the switch of the part of the active trigger. Once they get their unit, if they determine it's been broken by excessive pressure, basically squeezing the triggers too hard, then that is not covered by the lifetime warranty. Or of course, it does not cover mechanical damage by incorrect use of the goods. That part is pretty boilerplate, so that line I don't have an issue with. Now let's look at the HexGaming warranty here. I've activated dark mode on both of these. There's typically a white background, but I don't want to blind all of you. The HexGaming warranty kind of jumps right to the case right at the beginning, that they will cover button malfunction, joystick drift, and other manufacturing defects. The 90-day warranty coverage is battery malfunction, vibration issues, and controller mainboard problem. Essentially, they're saying things that they did not install and that were originally from Sony, like the battery, the vibrators, the vibration motors, and the controller main board problems. That stuff they'll cover for up to 90 days. Things that they install themselves, like the Hall Effect sticks, though this does not say it only applies to the Hall Effect sticks. So potentially, when they just list joystick drift, I take that as meaning the non-Hall Effect version of this controller, they would also cover joystick drift, which is huge. If that's actually the case, that is a huge win for the buyer of this controller, controller that joystick drift is just covered completely by their lifetime warranty. That's huge. Though they do have their own caveats in here as well, as failure due to prolonged use, wear, or aging. So if you've owned the controller too long and it just breaks from being old, that's no longer covered. To me, that kind of defeats the purpose of a lifetime warranty. Unreasonable or excessive use, including commercial use. I mean, I don't have a problem with that line. I mean, these controllers are meant for personal use. Excessive use, that's kind of debatable. Unreasonable, yes, I think that makes sense. So at face value, it seems like the HexGaming lifetime warranty covers more than the AimControllers lifetime warranty. The big one that sticks out to me is joystick drift, that it's just listed, it's covered in the lifetime warranty, and that's it. While in the AimController lifetime warranty, stick drift is only covered for up to 45 days from the delivery date. So those are important notes I think that the buyer needs to be aware of. I think we have covered all the major points of these two controllers. The AimController, of course, is the more expensive controller than the HexGaming controller, as it is custom versus a off-the-shelf mass-produced item. You do, of course, have more customization options with the AimController versus the Hex controller. So, for instance, the swap panels, which is not available on the HexGaming controller and is standard in all the AimControllers, that is one aspect that does factor into that higher price. When deciding between these two controllers, it could theoretically just come down to, do you like back paddles or back buttons? It really could be that simple. The comfort, objectively, I think is a little bit better on the HexGaming, but that does not mean that the AimController by any means I would describe as uncomfortable. I've played many hours with this AimController, and I've never wanted to stop using it because I found it uncomfortable while playing a game. Some features of these controllers that I did not mention are face buttons and D-pad. The HexGaming controller comes with membrane stock D-pad and face button switches. They switched out the buttons for this shiny gloss black here, but the switch underneath the buttons are the stock membrane. While on my AimController, I opted to switch to the mechanical buttons here. They are very quiet. They feel snappy. They're the quietest mechanical switches I've ever had at a controller, but I did not bring that up because that is an extra cost on the AimController, which would drive the overall cost of this controller, of course, up even more. Another feature I did not mention are the bumpers. On my controller here, I did also opt for the mechanical mouse click bumpers, or here, or L1 and R1, while this one has the stock membrane buttons here. One note I have noticed about the AimController, and I've seen people complain about on Reddit, and I believe it's cause of the snap panels here, is you can see kind of when I'm tapping it as well, the face buttons are a little looser here as well, and when you're shaking it, you can kind of hear them rattle. Let's see if I shake it next to the microphone. So there is a rattling noise with the D-pad and the face buttons as a result of the snap panels, I believe, because you see there's just less control holding them in place. If these holes were like maybe a little bit smaller, maybe that would solve that issue. I'm not sure, but it is a thing to note when you're buying these controllers that there is a rattling sound with it. There is obviously not as much of a rattling sound with the Hex controller because these are not removable parts, so it's a little bit more solid. In the hand, I mean, there's no flex when you try to like twist it. Of course, there isn't with the Hex one as well because there's no removable parts. It does not feel cheap by any means in the hand. It still feels like a premium product, but that rattling issue I have seen people on Reddit complain about, so I wanted to make it known as well. If you are interested to know how much this exact controller in front of me would cost if you wanted to build it in the AimControllers builder, the cost of this controller is $342. Now, I did not pay that much because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I used the promo code of another YouTube creator, and that saved me about $90 right off the cost of the controller. That brings the total amount that I paid for this controller down to $252. obviously not including shipping, etc. With that price, I did get the mechanical face buttons and the mechanical bumpers, and I did get to change the snap panels to the topo pattern here that I wanted, and of course changing the caps down here to blue to change these colors, but that's not an added cost once you've already opted for the exchangeable thumbstick caps. So with that, now with a promo code, that brings the cost of this down to $252, and this one is $249. But without promo codes, this would be $342 versus the $249. And if it matters to you, HexGaming has its headquarters in China, and AimControllers has its headquarters in Connecticut in the United States. However, I believe the controllers are built in Poland. At least that's where mine was shipped from. And with that, I hope I have helped you get the information you need to decide what is the best PS5 Pro controller for you. If you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers. Currently, we are at 377 at the time of making this video. Once I hit that 500 goal, that will be really awesome. I also stream on Twitch, so if you would like to come by and ask me some questions about these controllers or any others that I have reviewed, come by and check out my Twitch channel. A link to that will be appearing right here. And a link to all my other social media accounts will be in the description as well. I have full in-depth reviews of both these controllers, so if you want a real deep dive between these two, I will leave links to those in the description as well. I do have a 5% off promo code for the HexGaming controller. That's only if you buy it directly off the HexGaming website, but it is also offered off Amazon, and I will leave a link for that as well. And I will leave a link where you can purchase the Aim controller right under in the description as well. So that is going to do it for me in this video. Let me know what you think about these in the comments. If you have nothing to say, you can just leave your favorite emoji and it will help with engagement with the video. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Peace.